you know my love is true. 'Cause I've been craving to hold you the whole night through.
Hi.
Welcome.
Welcome back to another episode.
Welcome to the...
Breaking Stuff podcast.
Yes. I was going to say what the guy says in Saw, but I don't know. I don't remember.
Let's play a little game.
That's the one.
Oh yeah, this is nice.
Fab.
So we're going to start with a recap of our week.
Mm-hmm.
It's a difficult week.
It's been
a week.
Yeah. Well, this week was Halloween week, so we packed our itinerary with stuff to do.
We had a busy week.
We had a busy week, but then we didn't know what was to come.
So our dog Vader got quite sick. He's not been great shape for the past couple of weeks, but then last week he was getting worse. Anyway, long story short, we had to put him down.
Which was very sad.
Yeah, which is sad and difficult alone for us two, but then when you include a 4-year-old, then it brings up all these tricky situations.
Yeah.
And I remember, I mean, last week I wanted to do the whole lying thing.
Mm-hmm.
And basically tell her that, you know, Vader's gone away for a bit without finally coming to the realization that it's probably best just to tell her what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. And it was as sad as it was. Like, obviously we knew for a little bit, well, not for that long, but for her it was kind of out of the blue. But it's you know, she had a chance to like spend some time with him before, say her goodbyes, which was like just so heartbreaking, but it was something so beautiful about it that she had the opportunity to do that. Yeah. And that we could just explain to her, because at 4, like, while she won't fully understand the concept, she understands enough, and this is just the healthiest way that we could have done it, where she can process it with us, because we'll be sad for a while now and talk about it all the time because we're processing it too, and it's only right that she knows exactly what's going on, you know, and then she understands our emotions about it, and we can all talk about it.
I thought it was nice because obviously when we started telling her, your adrenaline kind of goes up because you're like, you never really know how a child's going to react to this kind of stuff, because it's the first time we've told her about someone or something dying. And then when she started just having such a natural reaction of crying and saying, I don't want Vader to die. This is like on the couch next to Vader, like it's the 4 of us, right? Yeah. And then I think because she was crying from such a pure, authentic place, like it allowed me to just start tearing up and crying as well, because normally I'd just suppress the fuck out of it and like shove it down. Yeah. But because she was like letting all that emotion go, it felt like my heart was broken for her, but I was also crying for myself at that point as well. Yeah, yeah. And it's like, fuck, she's 4 years old and she's helping me do the therapy stuff. Yeah, you know, like she has no idea. And she's so pure with it. Anyway, it's really nice.
I know, it was, and it was very sad. He left a big space behind and we miss him dearly.
Yeah, it's very strange. Okay, that was in a nutshell our week. Now
I mean, other than that, because we obviously prior to knowing how bad it's going to go with Veda, we planned a whole week of stuff. So we had a really busy week, which was so surreal. It's like it was Halloween, so it's party time for children.
Yeah, I mean, on the day that we put Veda down, I was with Bella. Yeah. Going to this experience where she could pick up snakes and lizards and just old chinchillas or whatever, guinea pigs. And you were with the vets doing the thing, and then joined us afterwards. It's like
it's so surreal.
Being
and just
a parent.
Just the day before we were at a Halloween party, and just before going to the Halloween party is when we found out what's going to happen the next day. And then she was having such a good time. It was just a trippy week.
It's been a trippy week. Let's do this. What is the topic today? You're bringing this one to the table, so I'm excited because I've not prepped.
Yes, because it's something that I spoke to a friend about, and it was just interesting conversation about relationships and boundaries within relationships. This was her question basically to me, because I said to her, what would you ask a couple in these kind of things?
What was her question?
So the question was, what's appropriate? Where are the boundaries for us? And in general, in a monogamous relationship, what we think the boundaries are or should be when it comes to social media, when it comes to just in general, like talking to people, flirting with people, how far those things can go. You know, do you tell each other if you find somebody else attractive?
Okay, let's open it up.
Yeah.
So let's start with people to people. We'll do the social media afterwards.
Yeah.
So what's appropriate? Okay, so what branches are there in terms of like meeting people to people?
So for example,
face to face?
I think for us, we are already like, we talk about people and whether we think somebody's good looking or not. Like we very openly say those things to each other, like, oh, like, you know, she's got beautiful eyes, or, you know, whatever. We say that all the time when we're watching stuff and you're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
So for us, it's quite normal. But let's say in social situations, which we don't take part in very much, so it's hard for us.
You say that. We've been quite social this
lately,
year.
Yeah, that's true. We've been quite social. Yeah, I guess at what point...
So I think it's a complicated question because so flirting is a big one, right? And so flirting is subjective.
Yes.
So if I'm talking to a female, regardless of what they look like for now, because I think that comes into it at some point, I could be my normal, what I would consider non-flirty self, just talking normally but being friendly, and then you could perceive that as me being flirty if for some reason you thought I was flirting.
Yeah, right.
And that's why like attractiveness can sometimes skewer that vision. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so for me personally, if I saw you talking to a bloke and he wasn't particularly attractive, I would feel more secure. But then if I saw you talking to this like big hunky man and you were just being yourself, but he was making you laugh, or you were like, do you know what I mean? I would have to check myself.
Yeah, well, this is it, right? I think it basically comes down to trust in a relationship.
Exactly.
And so any kind of boundaries that you have will be based on the level of trust that you have with that person. Because we have such high level of trust, our boundaries are very obvious for both of us. And
we know each other's boundaries.
We know each other's boundaries because the trust is there. So it's almost like we don't have to sit down and talk about our boundaries.
Okay, so let's talk about our boundaries. Right, so say I'm talking to like an incredibly attractive young lady, and just for the sake of it, she's in her 20s, she's rich, because these are all things I value.
Covered in tattoos.
No.
Well, that would be my thing.
thing. Okay.
That's what I would imagine. So for me, the nightmare, you know how you say the scenario where it's like a Megan Fox, to me, somebody like that, but like covered in tattoos and with an amazing personality on top of it, like funny,
and the
witty,
bitch is funny,
cool. She's beautiful. She's like that would be like my oh. Okay. So I'm chatting to her. She's in a social. We're all at a BBQ. Okay.
Right. And she's vegan. Not that I even care, but that might annoy you more. I don't know. And she's really good at it.
Yeah.
And I'm just talking to her, and like I'm making her laugh because I'm incredibly funny and I make people laugh.
Correct.
What's inappropriate? At what point do you go, hold on, that's not just me being paranoid. That's.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I pinch her ass. That's out of bounds.
Right. But this is it. That's it. Yeah. So this is what I think. If I think that you are talking to somebody in a social situation, and I know this person is probably your type, or you probably find her attractive, I think that unless something really, really highly inappropriate happens in front of me, I don't think it would bother me, only because I can tell if somebody's attractive. I probably can tell most of the time whether you would or wouldn't find them attractive. And it doesn't fucking matter to me. Like, it really doesn't, only because because I trust you. And so unless you were like asking her for her number and like trying to like get really close with her or like start touching her or something, then I would be like, I mean, unnecessary, you know. But if you were talking, making her laugh and whatever, I'd be like, okay, like you can find her attractive. Maybe we'll want to impress her a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'd be okay with that.
Right, so you would even be okay with that?
Yes.
If you saw that I was talking to her, we should give her a name. Kiki.
Kiki.
Right. say like I was talking to Kiki and you saw that I was talking to her normally, but I was clearly trying to impress her more than I would just, you know, someone else. Yeah. You would allow that in your mind to be a pass. That's not a red flag. That's not an issue. That's an understandable.
It for me, it would be an understandable thing, only because, you know. So let me finish my thought. Okay. So it would be,
and then I want to give you my equivalent to that.
Okay. So it would be acceptable to me because, provided that it ends there, right? Like we go home and we continue with our lives. It ends there. And I don't bring it up. Unless she becomes like a friend of us, you know. That's a different story. Then I don't know what would happen. But
that's interesting, though. That's like boundaries change. Right?
Yeah, exactly. But let's say for now, this is just a passing by stranger that we've met. You know, provided that, I would be like, cool, because I trust our relationship, and I also recognize that you're a human being and you can find somebody attractive, and you can even go as far as try to impress them, whether it's old habits, whether it's just because your ego needs that little boost, whatever it may be. And I think sometimes it's healthy for those things to happen because you need to see like other sides of the person, and I think it's fine.
I also think it's important as far as it's nice to know that you're still. I don't want to say it in the wrong way, like that you've still got it, or that you're still a singular person that can be found attractive by other people.
Exactly.
But my equivalent would be like, say there was like a really good looking bloke, and just to make it worse, like he's bigger than me, he's muscly, you know, car, money, blah blah, blah, all of it. And then he was talking to you and you were laughing at everything that he said, but just maybe laughing a little bit more than you would if it was someone else. Not to say that you're consciously laughing more, but you just find this guy a little bit funnier than normal because Christ, he's beautiful. And I think that is, that's like my equivalent of like, oh, okay, I'm not going to raise this because it's not a problem, but I can see it and I'm cool with it.
Yeah, right.
Because I trust you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if one hand goes on his peg.
Stupid. But this is what I mean. And I think, like, first of all, we all have insecurities. So a healthy amount of, like, insecurity coming up in you and a healthy amount of jealousy even, just like a slight little, like you said, like, okay, I see. And you kind of, you know, and you might, like, tease each other about it later, you know, being like, oh, I saw you, were whatever. Like, just.
But would we? I like that idea, but would we?
Well, I don't know, because I just feel like if there was a woman who looked like that, that I'm describing, and I would see her at a party, I would later tell you, like, Jesus Christ, that woman
so
was
would you, I'm playing devil's
else.
advocate now, but would you say that to see my reaction, or would you do that because...
No, I would just do that just because.
Yeah.
Just because I'd be like, I mean, to be fair, it would just be more like, for me, out of appreciation, just because I appreciate good-looking people. Like, we always talk about it. And especially for women, for me, because it's like, oh, look at her hair or her makeup or her outfit or whatever.
I think for me, it would be, I wouldn't bring it up more out of not wanting to make you feel uncomfortable. Because part of it, bringing it up would only be to try and get the right response, which could backfire anyway.
Yeah.
Because if you're going into it with that intention, you're fucking it up for yourself.
Yeah, right.
But also, I wouldn't want you to feel uncomfortable and then it become an issue for the next time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I want you to be I want you to be comfortable no matter what the fucking human looks like, male or female.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think also, like, I think it happened before in the past where we joked about something like, you know, if I tell you like, oh, somebody said this to me at the market or whatever, and you were like, oh yeah, I bet,
Oh, yeah,
You know, we joke about things like, oh, I bet they wanted whatever.
Yeah.
You know, we joke about things like that. I think the only difference, maybe, in my opinion, between us, is that I would, first of all, I feel very awkward in most situations. And so if I'm talking to anyone, but especially talking to men, I don't particularly enjoy a lot of the times, just because I feel uncomfortable around most people and around most men. And so it would be like, I find it more likely that it's happening the other way around than with me, only because I find myself very awkward in situations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas you,
Yeah,
I find you more socially, like, you thrive more, and so it's more likely that you'd be making people laugh or talking or whatever.
True, but also because you're the woman, men approach women generally in social environments.
Oh, right, yeah.
And because you're an attractive woman, you would have men come up to you. Whereas like women generally wouldn't come up to me. It would be me showing them that I'm safe.
Yeah. But see, even that, like, if somebody would go up to you, that's another interesting situation.
Which has happened.
If somebody would go up to you in front of me,
Oh,
depending on how the situation would escalate, even that I'd be like, oh, cool, good for you. Like, she really likes you. Given that you're not going to be like, oh, yeah, come to me. You'd be like, yeah, cool, but, you know.
Generally, if I feel like someone's hitting on me, I kind of just go a bit colder than normal, more than anything.
Yeah, right.
Regardless of how they look.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's.
I don't know if that's even the best way to do it. Okay, so say, for example, what was that actress's name, but with all the tattoos?
Megan Fox.
Okay, Megan Fox has now become like in our social circle, right? She is like on the inner circle, and she's single and ready to mingle.
Yeah.
Okay, so at that point, is there a conversation that needs to be had? The boundaries are changing? Can I text Megan on the weekends?
For me, not until I feel that there's something wrong. Not until I see something happening. So for me, that would be you, for example, like very obviously, I'd like to think that I'd be able to tell. Yeah. So if you would mention her more than any other friend, you would want to spend time all of a sudden socially more than you would have before, and she happens to be there every single time.
Yeah.
I would start to be a bit like, okay, this could be like a little crush or something.
Right.
Which even then, it's like, if I would notice that, I don't know, because it never happened before. So I'm not going to say what I would do, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that at some point I would say it to you in some way, just like throw it out there a little bit, just be like, this feels a bit weird. Yeah. I think, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a difficult one.
But even then, like, unless anything that crosses my boundary, which is me being able to obviously tell that you are like a bit more, you know, towards her, it would be fine, because I know that if we met someone and it's an attractive person, but then we became friends with them, we have clear boundaries in our relationship, and so that's just how
because
we continue as a friend.
We have had it in the like not too distant past where there's been a new person that we've met who's been attractive, and I've spoken about her more often. Right. And I've even thought to myself, oh shit, am I giving the wrong message? Am I like giving the wrong thing across? But then at the same time, I don't want to stop talking about a person because I'm worried.
Exactly.
And so it's more like I'm just going to stay true to like how I feel about the situation, and then if it comes up, we'll talk about it.
Exactly. But this is it, right? Because if it was anything more to it, you might not feel that way. And if there was anything more to it, I feel like I would have noticed.
Yeah, that's true.
The fact that you talked more about this person, for me, was very, very apparent why you were talking more about this person. And it wasn't anything that made me feel uncomfortable. Yeah. And at the same time, if you would feel like, I would just feel the energy about it, or like, you know, you wouldn't talk about it the same way. So I think that's...
And I think for the sake of transparency in a relationship, it's important that if someone feels like they want to talk about someone and they know there's no ulterior bullshit going on, you have to do it. Yeah. At the risk of the other partner feeling a certain way about it and then having to bring it up. Yeah, yeah. Because otherwise, if you start hiding shit for the wrong... Like, imagine if I started hiding shit when there was nothing to hide. Then exactly. You create a problem.
Exactly. Exactly, and that's when communication comes in as well. Yeah. Which is very important. But yeah, I think that people need to listen to their guts more, because 9 out of 10 times you will know you will be able to tell, like how I feel like I would. First of all, because I know you very well and we know each other very well. So I feel like I could just tell. But besides that, like I could feel it in my gut if something was wrong, because I have felt it in the past and I was right. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I think it happened to most people at this point at our age. So it's like, you just need to trust yourself.
It helps that I'm obsessed with you, doesn't it? I need to check the camera.
So, what would you say your boundaries would be for social media?
I think there's a bit of a boring answer, really, but I think anything that isn't done with the wrong intention, you know. And so, in terms of social media, I think but it's stupid, isn't it? Because if I say like you can do this or you can do that, it's like that sounds like rules.
Yeah, right.
But for me, it's a case of like you do what you want as long as it's not something that's a detriment to our relationship.
Yeah.
As long as it's not something that if it was done in person, we would be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in terms of like talking to people, like that's all fine. Like talk to who you want. It's like just, if you know you're talking to someone for the wrong reason, you know, put that person out of the phone and put them in front of you. It's like, would you talk to them then?
Exactly.
And would, you know, one of us want to find out the other one talking to that person in person? If not, don't do it on the phone.
Exactly.
And in terms of like what you say and how you say it, it's like people know if there's a boundary being crossed.
And what would you say to one of the like most common, I think, questions for a lot of women, or at least women I know or I've seen talk about it before, when it comes to who you follow? And like it's down to that, right? Like it's often down to who you follow, although Instagram I think took that feature away now where you can't see other people, like, you know how I used to have a feed where it's like this person liked this photo, this person liked that photo, and you could see like a feed of people's activity, which is weird. But they don't have that anymore. Right. But you can still see, like, if you mutually follow or it comes up on your For You page.
Yeah, and you can definitely see who follows who.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You just check their followers.
Exactly. But you have to do more, like, detective work.
I definitely used to be a lot worse with this. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember when we started being together, like, I had an issue with people that you followed.
Yeah.
But that was massively rooted in my insecurity.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's difficult because...
So what would you say, what my question is what would you say as a man to, what would you say to women or to other men that what's okay and what's not okay in terms of like who you're following, whose pictures are you liking,
honestly,
and all of that?
So we'll start with the following. Mm-hmm. At this point now, I would say, if you're worried that your partner has followed a type or a bunch of people, like, that's a you problem. Mm-hmm. Because if you trust them, then it's as simple as just looking at pictures on the internet. If like 99, I don't know, man, it's from thing to thing. Like if you see that your partner is following like 5,000 muscle men, mm-hmm. it's like maybe they've got a thing for muscle men, mm-hmm. but at the same time, if they're with you, they probably want to be with you. And if you've got good communication, you should be getting that reassurance somewhere. Yeah. I definitely don't think that as men we can ever put our foot down and go, you shouldn't follow that person. It's okay to follow that person. That's bullshit. And then on the flip side, I think men should be able to do the same. They should be able to follow whatever. And the reality is, like, a lot of men look at boobs and bums, and it's skin deep. Like, it's as shallow as looking at boobs and bums. Mm-hmm. And for a bloke looking at boobs and bums and then it causing a huge argument and ruining a relationship it's fucking madness. Like, mm-hmm. it's a shame and it's madness. But then other things come into it because maybe it's an ego thing.Maybe one of the partners doesn't like the fact that they're publicly looking at all of this stuff. Yeah.
So what would you say about liking and then commenting?
Yeah, can be a little bit different.
Yeah.
It also depends why they're liking and commenting. Yeah. Because I sometimes like and comment on all sorts of different profiles, but it's often because I'm trying to get them onto my profile. Yeah, right. So it's like a social media thing.
So it's the intention behind it.
Yeah, it's the intention behind it.
But would you say that your intentions are the average intentions, or would you
No,
say
it's
that?
not now.
Right.
My intentions now are purely to get my numbers up.
Yeah,
so
but
that
this is
the
exactly.
podcast
So
as
would
well.
you say that most men, if you think of the average, like most men,
I don't know. I see where you're going.
their
with it.
idea of like, okay, they're gonna like pictures and they're gonna comment on these things, or maybe even DM or whatever. I don't fucking know.
Well, the DM is worse than a public comment, right?
Yeah.
Because if they're doing a public comment, at least they're not hiding it.
True.
Maybe they're just a bit. Well, it depends on their partner. Like some would say they're stupid, others would say they're not doing anything wrong. Some would also argue that if you're commenting somebody's pictures, it's because you want their attention.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it's what they do with that attention that.
And then would you say it's like a personal boundary then to in a relationship? Because some women will be like, absolutely not. Like, I don't want you to like or comment on anybody's pictures. That's an obvious like thirst traps or whatever. And then some people are like, I don't care as long as it's with the right intention.
So I would personally say if a woman has got a really big problem with it, one, they need to look at themselves and ask themselves, why does it bother them that much? And two, can they find peace with it? And three, the bloke should have a look at the situation, and if it's not that deep for them to do the comments and the likes, for the sake of the relationship and the person that they hopefully love, they should stop doing it. I think it can be harmless and often just ego-driven or just, I mean, I want to say like hormone-driven. It's probably like a stupid thing. I think a lot of men are thirsty for female attention.
Yeah.
Even if they have a partner.
Yeah, right.
But that's an insecurity with them. It's not because... It might not even be because they've got any less respect for their partner. It's just that they haven't got the security in themselves yet.
Yeah.
And so maybe the partner should give them a little bit of leeway with that. But also let them know that it bothers them.
Yeah, right.
I think it's when it gone.
Yeah, no, this is it. I think it's important. The communication is important, and I think it's important to listen to the other person and their reasons why. And if it's because, I think you're going to do something and it's a trust issue there, then you need to figure that out. If it's just I just don't want you to look at other women, then you need to figure that out. It's like depending on the issue, because everybody has a different, like the personal problem, depending on what their issue is.
Yeah.
And then they need to look at that and solve it from there. Because you could have somebody who has, who has who is in a relationship, but still like just won't stop. Like, everybody that they follow is just women.
Yeah.
And most of the time it's like women who post exclusively or mostly like, thirst traps, as they call them, or whatever. And then they're constantly like liking and commenting. And it bothers the other person. Because I think that's what often happens.
I think so.
And this is when it kind of, in my opinion, it depends on how much you value that relationship that you're in, right, with that woman. Do you care to, change that habit for that person? Or you're like, no, this is more important to me to look at these pictures and to like them and to comment. And if so, it's just
difficult, isn't it? Because it's all kind of wrapped up in a hormonal thing and being horny. That's why a lot of blokes are doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like for the say a heterosexual relationship, for the woman that is upset with their man liking and commenting all these thirst trap pictures, how are they dealing with the notion that their bloke's probably looking at porn as well? And then at what point, where does it go? Like, what about them looking at women as they walk past on the street? Like, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
It's just, is it more of a problem because it's public? Is it more of a problem because someone else could potentially see that it's embarrassing?
Yeah.
Because if that's or is it because you've got concrete proof that they're doing it?
Yeah, right.
It's like, at what point is it about them or is it about you,
Yeah. This is why, the whole, when you're commenting and when you're, often, to me, that signals that you're trying to maybe get that person's attention, depending on what you're commenting. But, obviously, most of the time it'll be whatever. I don't know.
For sure, sometimes blokes do it without thinking.
Yeah.
Because they're looking at the pictures and even if it's not inappropriate, because some people would say it's inappropriate just messaging, right? But sometimes they're just doing it because the need to let them know that they exist.
Yeah. I think also another important thing to mention is what I would encourage men to do is that apart from just looking and consuming and whatever because it's there and you have to and whatever, like all of that.
Well, no, they shouldn't have to. It's a problem, right? It's definitely a problem.
But this is it, right? So I want them to also think about when women are labeled as, you know, they're like crazy, you know, when it comes to those things like, oh my gosh, she's trying to tell me what to look at and what not to look at. I think sometimes they forget that there is, which I'm not saying it's exclusively to men because women contribute to the problem, but there is a huge problem with objectification of women. And that obviously feeds into it a lot. And it does make you wonder, like, if this is something that you consume a lot of on all platforms and, you know, like I'm talking about somebody who's like likes and comments and is like follows a lot of them and whatever. And it would be concerning potentially for someone. What I'm trying to say is that you have to always be aware that that could be an issue for that person. It's not necessarily about like, you know, you're going to cheat on me or whatever, but it's that, you know, you're objectifying women
it's
often.
a problem.
And that's not great. And if you're objectifying women on the daily and it's like very like a normal, regular thing for you, that's not a great place to be.
It's a huge problem.
With a partner.
It's a huge problem. And I think, I don't know where this objectifying women thing started, but with like the introduction of the internet and pornography being so easily available, like every bloke I've spoken to, gay or straight, has dealt with porn addiction problems on some level.
Yeah.
Some are like next level,
Yeah.
like it's shocking. But all of them have had like issues. And like if there's any bloke out there that hasn't, like comment, like what, did you not have the internet?
Yeah, right.
And it's because it taps into something that's so primal, but it's completely distorted from how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think because of that, the objectifying starts at a really young age.
Yeah.
You know, and then by the time you become an adult, you're everything's fucked up.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of relearn.
Yeah.
And like, I 100% believe that porn is so destructive to the self, to the person, because not just because it's unrealistic, but because it just does something that's not natural.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I mean, orgasm feels good, but the rest of it is detachment.
It doesn't serve you.
Yeah, and you end up being detached from yourself.
Yeah.
And like some people are just fucked from it.
Yeah.
But I think that goes a long way. And I think that trickles down into like blokes just commenting, liking loads of, you know, babes on Instagram.
Yeah, right.
And,
yeah,
and
exactly.
then like, you know, you said like women contribute to the objectifying as well. But it's because, you know, women are pocketing good money from it.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
like-
I mean, women are just trying to make the patriarchy work for them, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
that's all they're doing. And not this, but, you know, obviously they're still contributing. So it's something, there is a
Definitely.
slight responsibility on them as well as on an individual human level, but on a systemic level,
right.
it's not
it's
their
a
fault.
funny one, that, because a lot of men would go like, oh yeah, but women are the ones that are blah 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 blah.
doing
And
it,
it's
and it's
like, yeah, right. Well, everyone's got a responsibility for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. But when
And
the
if a
system is rigged, it's kind of...
Yeah, right. And if
you
a
know.
woman's making good money from doing her OnlyFans or whatever, like fucking take my hat off to you, crack on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like make that money. Sure, right.
Nothing. Yeah, it's just wriggling around. Boundaries when it comes to social media, but from the other side. So from what you post while in a relationship,
Yeah.
what boundaries would be for us? Where would you draw the line?
Okay.
What would you say? Or where would you draw the line? What would be an issue for
So
you?
are we talking about with each other or hypothetically? Because to put it in context, you don't post very much and I post every day.
Right,
Right?
yeah, that's quite funny.
And like considering, like if we look at my history of posting, like I'll post almost anything that will get likes. So like if I was in better shape, I would have no problems doing this podcast with my six-pack out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But having said that, if I knew you had a real problem with it, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, right. Well, this is it. I think let's talk about hypothetical because we can get that out of the way for us. It's like I don't post anything on social media ever, and if I do, it's of you and Bella, and rarely about myself.
But yeah, hypothetical is good because it would correlate to how I feel about you posting.
Yeah,
you know.
right. So hypothetically, like the classic. I mean, let's do it both ways, even though mostly the focus is on women, just
Yeah.
because that's what.
People want.
Yeah, right. No, and that's what's judged more, right? Like it's more
Well, no,
controversial.
that's where most of the focus is.
Yeah.
Men are looking at women generally.
Yeah.
I mean, I know lots of women are looking at men, but
Yeah, right. But it's usually the other way
there's
around.
a lot of women showing their goods
Good.
compared to men.
Their bodies. So, what do you think? What would
So
you
if-
think
okay.
hypothetically?
So say we lived in a hotter climate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we lived in our swimsuits more often,
Right.
or walked around in our pants more often. I guess the question is, would I feel comfortable with you showing your bum on social media?
Right.
I mean, the truth is, I've tried to sneak your bum in my social media. I don't know, man. I think it comes down to a thing of, it's almost silly, but it comes down to a thing of taste. Like if the photo's really nicely done, like would I have a problem if your bum was on social media? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know?
You'd be proud of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be sharing it with all my friends because some of my friends are disgusting
Yeah.
and I don't want them to see.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know.
Yeah.
If they're nicely done.
Yeah.
And it's not just bums, it's like boobs as well. But I wouldn't want your well there's a boundary for me. I wouldn't want your boobs out on
Yeah.
internet and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
well I guess the question for me should be like if you started an OnlyFans, what would I have a problem with there?
Right.
I would struggle.
Yeah. I think that's normal. I think most people would struggle. I would struggle if you started an OnlyFans.
Yeah.
I think that's normal.
I think I would struggle if I started an OnlyFans.
It's the same though. Same for me.
I think if you started an OnlyFans, we'd make some moolah. I'd be able to get a new camera.
Not happening.
No, I would struggle a bit with it. At the same time, I'd like to think that I could get over it
Yeah.
at some point.
I mean, just like with everything we talked about, I think what keeps coming back up is that it's about intention, right? It's
Yeah.
about the intention, because likely I will never do that. But if I were to do that, it would be with the intent of making us a lot of money,
Yeah,
right? Like
right.
that would be the only
And that's
intention behind it,
well.
and vice versa. So it's like,
So the intention at that point, part of the problem wouldn't be your intention. Part of the problem for me would be other men seeing you naked, right?
right,
So even if the intention was in the right place, I would still have a struggle.
yeah,
But still, that is something that I need to get over.
yeah,
Because what is it in my ego that has got a problem with other men seeing you naked?
yeah,
Like if you break it down, what's the problem with that? You know, because we're monogamous and happily monogamous. If they're not sleeping with you, then what's the problem? But then I guess that's something that I don't know. I guess that's a thing.
yeah, right. And I mean, you know, it just depends on everybody's situation. Personally, for me, first of all, it's not something that I would choose to do at this moment in time.
Right.
But if it was the other way around, I think it would be exactly the same. So go back to just posting. Like, if you were to be posting pictures of yourself and of your body, it would be fine
Yeah.
for me, because I'd be like,
Yeah.
there you
Right.
go, look at it, it's beautiful. But yeah, and when it comes to like more heavier stuff, you know, it would be the same. It'd be like, well, first of all, I know you so well, so I know exactly what it would be, the intention behind it.
Yeah,
you
right.
know, so it wouldn't.
Yeah, because with the lighter stuff, there is intention. Because if your partner's posting every day, like risky photos on Instagram, at some point you got to be like, what are they missing? What do they need that I'm not providing?
Exactly.
But then if it's because
They're trying to get their followings up or make money.
Yeah, then it kind of blurs the lines a little bit.
Yeah, it does. Especially in today's world, it's like everybody's just trying to make money. We're just trying to get by. Just trying to live.
And the reality is on social media, like a bum picture does really well.
Yeah.
And it does really well for someone's following.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because part of me wants to say that, like, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't post those kind of pictures because I don't know, I just wouldn't. But then if other people do it, I'm perfectly fine with it. Like, if I see other people do it, I would never disrespect someone
Yeah.
because they're posting their body. I would never be like, oh my God, that's disgusting. Why would you do that?
No.
I wouldn't do that. But I wouldn't do it myself for
Yeah.
my own reasons. But I wouldn't force my views on other people.
No.
It's like, well, I don't want to do that because I don't feel comfortable. Therefore, nobody else should, you know?
Okay, so for a relationship in which one partner is struggling with what they feel boundaries are being crossed, some would call that jealousy, but for them it's a boundary. What's a conversation look like between those two people from the jealous person? So say I'm a jealous person, you're crossing my boundaries, or you're doing something I don't like. What would a healthy conversation about that be? And for example, you posted a picture of your bum on the beach. I don't like it. I want you to know that I don't like it.
Right.
How do I make this situation not turn into an argument?
I would recommend for people to first look at the why, maybe, to think, why does this bother me? What about this that bothers me? And then verbalize that to the person, being like, you know, this is how I feel about this, and this is why. So, for example, you could say, like, this, I just feel a bit like this is a bit weird for me because now all my friends are going to see, or whatever. And then hopefully, given that it's like a healthy dynamic, you can unpack that, because even just saying that out loud now, to me, it's kind of like, you know, okay,
I think it's important.
why is that?
I think it's important to add that if you're going to have that conversation with your partner, like they're posting pictures you don't like, to remain calm and, most importantly, non-judgmental.
Exactly.
Because you never really know why someone's doing something. And to come across with a judgy kind of tone, they're straight away going to go into defense mode.
Yeah.
They're going to lose all compassion for what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
And then say that you get that across in a healthy way, and then the partner's like, well, I posted a picture of my bum because, you know, I thought I looked good in that bikini bottom.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave it up. And next summer I'm going to possibly do it again.
Yeah.
I think then the person that has a problem with it, instead of like trying to force the issue, you have to just make a decision yourself. Like, can I be with someone?
Exactly.
But, you know, and stay away from ultimatums.
Exactly.
Compromise is one thing, but if someone's compromised themselves because they're scared,
Exactly.
then you're fucked.
And there are some basic, in my mind, there are some basic not rules, just some basics, right, when it comes to it. So to me, if somebody's posting a picture of themselves in a bikini, it's a picture of themselves in a bikini. It's their body, and they put their body on a photo. Like, I don't think the other person can have any kind of feelings they want about it, but ultimately it's that person's body, I think, was what a lot of people would argue, that it's like, okay, but it's their body, and you know that person, hopefully. I mean, it depends on the relationship, right? But if, you know, unless it's completely out of the blue, like for me, right? If tomorrow I posted a picture of just my ass on social media, that would be completely out of the blue. And then you would be like in the right to question and be like, I mean, it's a nice picture, but like, why?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? But if it's like, if it makes sense for the person, even if they've never posted it before, but they post frequently, or they like, you know, showing their body off, or even just their face or their outfits or whatever it may be, and then they do it, to me, it's like, I mean, you know this, or if you don't know this, then ask. But like, I just think there's a slippery slope with when it becomes control for people.
I think it's difficult because the partner that has a problem with it, it's all rooted in insecurity, right? It's all rooted in insecurity. I mean, unless there's something else going on. And so it almost doesn't, at some point, the intention of the other person, you can't even get to that yet.
Yeah.
If you've got jealousy, if you're insecure, I mean, what does it come down to? Why would someone be insecure that their partner is posting pictures of their ass? You're insecure because you're worried that other people are going to look at it, find it attractive, and ultimately steal your partner.
Yeah.
Or your partner's going to get attention from someone else, and you feel insecure because you can't provide what they need.
Or you feel embarrassed. Some
you
people
feel
would feel
embarrassed.
embarrassed because they'd be
Oh,
like,
yeah,
oh my
right.
God, you're putting your body out there for everybody to see, like my grandma's going to see that, or
Right,
whatever.
embarrassed, and then in turn make them look bad, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or some people would argue that, you know, if you post those kind of pictures, you might not have like respect for your partner or for yourself. But again, it depends on the context. If I were to do it tomorrow out of nowhere, that would be weird. But for somebody who does it most of the time to make money or to get attention for something that they're doing, even if it's just that they're trying to become a model or whatever it may be, like there's so many, you know, reasons why people would do it these days. You have to just allow them to do it. And if you want somebody who doesn't do that, you need to find somebody who doesn't do that. And either way, whether you do it or you don't do it, I don't think there's anything wrong with either. I think if you're somebody who has really strong views and is like, look, I would never put my body out there and I don't think it's right for women to do that, that's cool. I think that's fine. I think that's a good opinion to have. Everybody's allowed to have that. And then if you're on the opposite side, that's okay too.
And just like a little side note, it's also if they've been like that when you met them.
Right. Well, this is it.
Then, you know, I don't know where I feel like, should they have to change because you don't like it? If they're staying true to themselves?
No.
I don't know. I think
it depends.
your partner should only change something that you don't like if you can see that it's bad for them or bad for people around them.
Oh,
right.
Like
dangerously.
Yeah, right, of course. Yeah, of course. But otherwise, like, you know.
Like say for example, like a couple get together and he's in the porn industry and she can't stand it. Like what right or how much leeway has she got to tell him to stop doing pornography?
Right.
If that's his job, that's his income, or that's all he knows.
Yeah.
Like, because some people's identity is wrapped up in what they've been doing for the past 20 years.
I mean, maybe it's a very like easy for you to say kind of thing, but I know you can fall in love with anyone at any time, so anything can happen. But 9 out of 10 times, like, you probably shouldn't date someone who does that if you don't agree with it.
Yeah, right.
Like,
or if you
this,
can't handle it.
Exactly, and this like pretending to yourself these like imaginary scenarios where you meet someone and they're doing something and you just kind of overlook it and you think, oh well, maybe they'll change for me. It's like, no. Don't
and that's
do
not
that
the right
to
attitude.
yourself or the other person. It's not good for yourself because that's not going to happen most of the time. And it's not good for the other person because now you're asking them to do something that they weren't ever prepared to do just because now you're around and you want them to stop doing something that they've always done. It's like, right. Why? You know, find somebody that you align your values with.
Yeah. I just want to remind you to subscribe, follow, like. Don't send any bum pics. Especially not if it's Briggies.
Subscribe.
And you can comment below and let us know what you'd like us to debate on the
and
next
your
episode.
Boundaries. Tell us your boundaries.
Tell us your boundaries,
what you agree
peeps.
With, what you disagree with.
Where are your bum pics at? Guys out there, no dick pics.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go to Co-op now and get some food. Because we're very hungry, and it's been a long day, and we love you.
Peace.